Mahatma Gandhi's racist dark side. Mahatma Gandhi, a name synonymous with nonviolence, justice, and equality. But what if I told you that the man who inspired global movements for peace also held deeply problematic views about race, particularly towards Africans? In this video, we will explore the lesser-known side of Gandhi's legacy, his early views on race, shaped by his time in South Africa. How did Gandhi, a man revered for his commitment to human rights, come to hold beliefs that placed Indians above Africans in a racial hierarchy? What does his journey from racial segregation to championing nonviolence teach us about growth and change? In today's video, we will delve into Gandhi's early writings, uncover the contradictions in his activism, and explore how his views evolved over time. We'll look at his stance on race not only affected his actions in South Africa, but also shaped the course of his later work in India. Stick around as we discuss shocking quotes from Gandhi himself and examine the complexities of his legacy. If you're ready to uncover the full story of Gandhi's views on race, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with My Blackness 100, where Black excellence, history, and empowerment are celebrated. Mahatma Gandhi, his achievements and early views on race. Mahatma Gandhi is one of the most iconic figures in the history of nonviolence, activism, and social justice. His philosophy of peaceful resistance, known as satyagraha, has inspired countless movements worldwide. Gandhi's ability to mobilize the masses and challenge oppressive systems without resorting to violence is what made him a powerful force in both South Africa and India. In South Africa, where he spent over 2 decades, Gandhi's activism began as a defense of Indian immigrants facing racial discrimination. His efforts ultimately led to significant changes, including the end of certain discriminatory policies and the improvement of rights for Indians. He confronted the British colonial government and challenged the legal structures that oppressed not only Indians, but the broader non-white population. In India, his leadership during the struggle for independence against British colonial rule has become legendary. His peaceful protests, mass movements, and calls for self-rule galvanized the Indian populace, eventually leading to the end of British colonial control in 1947. While Gandhi's accomplishments are remarkable, his journey was not without contradictions. His struggle for justice and equality, though undeniably impactful, was tainted by his early views on race, particularly his perception of Africans. In this section, we delve into how Gandhi's early activism in South Africa revealed deeply problematic views about race, views that were influenced by the colonial context and shaped his understanding of racial hierarchy. Gandhi's early views on Africans. Mahatma Gandhi's early years in South Africa reveal a man who, while fighting for the rights of Indians, held deeply racial views that placed Africans at the bottom of the social and racial ladder. Even though he was a victim of racial discrimination, Gandhi's treatment of Africans reveals the complexity and contradictions in his worldview. One of the most striking features of Gandhi's early views on race is the use of the derogatory term kaffir, a racial slur used by colonial authorities to dehumanize Black Africans. In Indian Opinion, the newspaper Gandhi founded to support the Indian community in South Africa, he wrote, "We believe as much in the civilization of the Indian as in that of the English, but it is impossible to regard the kaffir as equal to the European." This statement starkly illustrates Gandhi's belief that Africans were inferior to both Indians and Europeans. While he did fight for the rights of Indians, particularly in their struggles against discriminatory laws, his rhetoric towards Africans was condescending and dismissive. This belief in racial hierarchy became a recurring theme throughout his early writings and speeches. Indians as superior to Africans. In his efforts to advocate for the rights of Indians, Gandhi emphasized the difference between Indians and Africans, asserting that Indians were more civilized than Africans. In one of his writings, he stated, "The Indian is the more intelligent, more morally sound, and better in every respect when compared to the kaffir." This view aligns with the colonial mindset of the time, which placed Europeans at the top of a racial hierarchy, followed by Indians and then Africans. Gandhi's attempt to separate Indians from Africans in South Africa was rooted in the belief that Indians were closer to European civilization and therefore deserved better treatment. In a letter to the natal government, Gandhi argued that Indians must be treated as a class distinct from the kaffir and other races. In Gandhi's view, the separation of Indians and Africans was essential to preserving the dignity and purity of the Indian race. He advocated for distinct spaces, laws, and facilities for Indians, reflecting his belief in the racial hierarchy that placed Indians above Africans. Opposing interracial marriages. Gandhi's stance on interracial relationships further underscores his belief in the racial differences between Indians and Africans. Gandhi vehemently opposed marriages between Indians and Africans, fearing that such unions would pollute the Indian race. He wrote, "The union of an Indian with a native would lower the caste of the Indian." For Gandhi, racial purity was integral to the social fabric of the Indian community, and he feared that interracial relationships would undermine that purity. This view, grounded in the caste system and colonial racial thinking, positioned Africans as inherently inferior and unsuitable as marriage partners for Indians. Gandhi's rejection of African leadership. Gandhi's writings suggest that he did not believe Africans were capable of self-government. He argued that Africans needed guidance from Europeans or Indians in order to thrive. He expressed this view in his Indian opinion. The kaffir is unfit to govern himself and should be under European or Indian guidance. This reflects Gandhi's patronizing attitude towards Africans. Although he was fighting for the rights of Indians, he did not see Africans as equals in terms of leadership or government. In his mind, Africans were to be guided by more civilized races, and their ability to self-govern was questioned. Gandhi's role in British wars in South Africa. When the British Empire found itself at war in South Africa, Gandhi chose a path that might surprise many today. During the Boer War of 1899 to 1902, he did not take up arms, but instead organized the Indian Ambulance Corps, recruiting over 1,000 Indian volunteers. Their task was to carry the wounded from the battlefield, often under heavy gunfire, most famously at the bloody engagement of Spienkop. Gandhi believed that this act of loyalty and sacrifice would demonstrate to the British that Indians were deserving of full civic rights within the empire. In his view, service in war was a stepping stone towards recognition and respect. Only a few years later, in 1906, Gandhi once again aligned with the British during the Zulu Rebellion, also known as the Bambatha Uprising. Here too, he raised an Indian Volunteer Stretcher-Bearer Corps, this time to tend to British soldiers injured while suppressing the Zulu resistance. Gandhi framed this service as both humanitarian and strategic, proof that Indians, though often marginalized, were loyal subjects of the crown. He reasoned that demonstrating courage and sacrifice in the empire's battles would strengthen their political claims in South Africa. Yet Gandhi's position reveals a tension that history cannot overlook. By supporting the British war effort against both the Boers and the Zulu, he was simultaneously working against the very communities whose struggles for freedom would later resonate across the continent. His focus remained narrow, fixed on the plight of Indians, not Africans. It was a calculated move, an attempt to advance his people's rights through loyalty, yet it also bound him in that moment to the machinery of empire and the suppression of African resistance. The changing view of Gandhi, evolution in his thoughts. While Gandhi's early views on race were deeply problematic, his perspective evolved significantly as he grew older. His experiences in South Africa, India, and his interactions with people from various racial and cultural backgrounds led to a broader understanding of equality and justice. As Gandhi's philosophy of satyagraha matured, so did his ideas about race. After his return to India and his leadership of the Indian independence movement, Gandhi's commitment to nonviolence and equality expanded to include all races. In later years, Gandhi's views on race became more inclusive, especially when he interacted with leaders from Africa and the Caribbean, such as C.L.R. James, who challenged his earlier views. In fact, Gandhi later acknowledged that his early views had been shaped by the social structures and prejudices of the colonial system. He admitted that he had been wrong to view Africans as inferior to Indians. He wrote in his autobiography, "I was young, inexperienced, and surrounded by the prejudices of my time. I came to see that all human beings are equal and that no race is superior to another." Gandhi's legacy and the complexity of his views on race. Gandhi's legacy as a leader of nonviolent resistance and a champion of human rights is undeniably powerful. However, his early views on race remain a complex and uncomfortable aspect of his life. His belief in the superiority of Indians over Africans and his support for segregation, racial purity, and colonial structures complicate his legacy, especially in light of the modern struggles for racial equality. Gandhi's later evolution on race towards a more inclusive and egalitarian view shows that his journey, like that of many others, was shaped by
his experiences and the challenges he faced in both South Africa and India. His journey reflects the possibility of change and growth, even for those who once held harmful beliefs. While Gandhi's early views on race may tarnish his legacy, they also offer valuable lessons on how individuals can evolve and adapt their perspectives over time. As we continue to study his life, it's crucial to recognize both his significant achievements and the flaws that marked his early activism.
If you found this deep dive into Gandhi's early views on race eye-opening, be sure to check out more thought-provoking content on My Blackness 100. We're constantly exploring complex histories, the evolution of figures like Gandhi, and how their actions impact the world we live in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and share if you found this video insightful, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss an update. Dive into more videos right here on My Blackness 100, where we continue to celebrate Black excellence and challenge the narratives that shape our world.